Hi everyone, this is DRA KubeVirt support sync February 18th. Um, I'm going to share my screen and also share the meeting document here. If everyone can put their name in the attendees section, that would be great. Okay, think we can get started. Uh, so in the last DRA KubeVirt sync up, the biggest thing that we discussed was how to achieve live migration with DRA. The core issue is that since we are changing the way DRA information is gathered from environment variables to VMI status, the question is how do we sync the information in a target pod so that when live migration is happening, the target Virt launcher pod is aware of the VMI device status and can generate the correct DOM XML for it. So I did a small uh, investigation slash POC on how things are working currently and how we can enable it with DRA. I'm going to spend a few minutes in this call to discuss that, and then we can take other topics later on. So just to level set, currently the way migration is working is it goes from so the migration CR goes from pending to scheduling, scheduling to scheduled. Once it is in the scheduled state, the target pods are running and the and the migration starts, and the source will call in to the target and start this process of live migration. We'll only focus on the first three phases here for migration because as far as DRA is concerned, once the pod goes to running state, we'll have all the information that is needed for the VMI status available for the target pod. So the idea is that once migration controller moves from the migration controller will move the migration object from scheduling to scheduled state only when target pod information is updated in the status by DRA controller. There are a couple ways to assert that this is actually done. I'm going to talk about it a little bit later, but just want to finish the thought that if we assume that the VMI status is asserted to reflect the target pod's information when the pod goes to running state and before the migration goes to scheduled state, then uh, when the target actually goes to running, the migration will start and the target Virt handler will use sync VMI call, which is the same call as running the VMI for the first time. And it will use the same logic to convert that VMI status information into DOM XML.
So could you repeat that?
Yeah. So what I'm saying is first thing is that migration will move to scheduled state, and we assert that the when it is in scheduled state, the VMI status reflects the target pod's device information.
the target pod reflects the sorry, the target pod. Okay, yeah, the target pod has that.
So we have the VMI status reflecting device information, right? The device status currently in this proposal. Let me go to that part.
Yeah, so you get, yeah, you have the moment you have the target pod, you have this information.
No, we will only have the device information when the target pod goes through scheduling and when scheduler has assigned a device to it and kubelet has allocated it. So only when the target pod goes to running or ready state, we can truly be sure that we have this information.
Right. So the migration controller is waiting for this to happen. I mean, we don't proceed before the target pod is reporting is running.
Correct. That's true. So that is happening between scheduling and scheduled state. And we will add one more and like logic here that it will wait for the target pod to go to running state and the DRA controller to update the VMI status. This
So
part.
what are you going to update?
So this is the part of the migration controller which moves the migration to scheduled state here, and it checks if the target pod is ready, right? So this is currently how it works. We're going to update this to say, is target pod ready and is DRA status synced? And in
Yes.
the DRA status synced, it will check if the information is from the source Virt launcher pod or the target Virt launcher pod.
Right. And what are you going to update?
In the VMI status. Okay. Yeah. So there are two ways I have explored on how to do this. I'm going to talk about the first alternative, which is in the device status struct. Currently, we only have GPU statuses and host statuses. In the POC I demoed last time. In that, we can add one more field called pod name. This pod name will reflect whether it's the source pod or the target pod. And in this particular instance, we will check if the pod name is equal to target pod name in the status, then we'll continue and let the migration go forward. If this is not the case, then we'll add a route here saying that waiting for DRA controller to sync the status information and
What happens
retry.
what happens if a minute after the migration fails? How do you get it back?
So currently there is a timeout in this workflow where if the VMI migration is stuck in scheduling state, it will time out. So we will use the existing timeout to either keep retrying in this controller or eventually time out and fail the migration.
Yeah, but you will still need to update the VMI status.
That's correct. So one thing is that because the source controller, source pod is already running, it does not need the VMI information, the VMI device status information again. So it is only matter of correctness that once the migration is failed, we have to reflect the right source information there, and that logic can be added in the DRA controller.
I don't know. Seems like too many things that need to update themselves. I mean, normally the way migration works today is that we have an additional section in the migration state where we communicate what are the devices on the target. So, for example, what CPU pinning look like on the target. I mean, what the CPU topology looks like on the target and where should we pin. and then volume sizes and things like this. So I mean, I would expect whatever you need to update on the target to go there, and then some other controller would just reflect, maybe Virt handler would just reflect the reality of what has happened after the migration, just in regular execution flow. Yeah.
So you're saying that the information about target, we can use the migration state to reflect it there. And in case the migration continues, then word handler will use that to generate the right DOM XML. If it does not, then we can um, continue the uh, device status to reflect the source information. That correct understanding?
Yeah, I mean, I would expect, the allocated devices on the target or whatever you need to capture on the target, just to be communicated as part of the migration state, and then there are already functions that are using the migration state on the source to generate target XML.
Hmm. So I think we can explore doing that. The only issue is that we'll duplicate the information uh, 2 times, as in we'll have the source information as well as the target information in the
Yeah,
CR.
if you're synchronizing the same, okay, in the same place, then you would basically um, have to revert. I mean, you would have to have some kind of a mechanism that will revert that information to reflect reality after the migration
Correct.
succeeded or failed.
Yes. Yes. So we could do it either way. It's a matter of making a trade-off between doing too many things or preferring the scalability. I mean, if having information twice in the object is not a concern from scalability side, we can do it that way. If scalability is issue, then we can sync using conditions or something similar where we reflect each state of the migration in the DRA controller. So depending on the trade-offs that we want to make, I'm either way this could be possible.
I'm not sure. But okay, let's not hang up on this. I mean, the next step is the next problem is that we want to move away from this concept eventually, and we would like the target to generate the target Virt handler, for example, to be able to generate target XML on the target without synchronizing this information. So that's what I was sharing last time. That today it's working that, I mean, in that particular way that we communicate. We're basically synchronizing the devices or some of the context through migration status, through the migration state. But in the future, we want to move away from this and allow the target to generate the target DOM XML based on the reality in that on that specific node, or what has been allocated to the Virt launcher.
Yeah. So my question would be that in that future uh, mechanism, right? When we think about doing this, we could use the same functionality that we use for current migration state with DRA devices as well, right? So the current migration state has volumes and other node specific information that needs to get rewritten. We can use those same mechanisms for DRA devices as well, right?
Um, I guess, I mean, I need to see how it will look like. That's what I don't know. Lubo, Jed, what do you think?
Sorry, double muted. Um, I don't know, like, what's your concern about the future proofing of this mechanism for when we switch to the target generating its own XML?
The TargetVirt launcher will not know. I mean, the TargetVirt launcher will know, for example, the topology on the node. It will know uh, what devices has been allocated because it's part of the Virt launcher. But how this information from of allocated DRA devices is going to get inside the Virt launcher on the target? That's my concern. So today, yes, I mean, for today in general, we could double the. I mean, instead of synchronizing it in one point, which is I think not healthy, we could use the migration state. But yeah, what I'm worried about mostly is how it's going to be in the future.
So just for my information, is there any issue or design doc of what things are going to look like in the future for migration?
No, because we're trying to negotiate with the, for example, with KubeVirt, how we can build this DOM XML on the target. But eventually, there's already one way. But the essence of it is that most of this information is available inside the pod. So, I mean, we're basically, instead of synchronizing that information through the source, we'll just use the information that is available on the target to rebuild the domain XML. And we could do it even now. It just, I mean, to throw some hoops and hooks.
I see. And so how are the PVCs that get attached going to be coordinated in that world? So for example, if a PVC is going through migration, right? Um, how will you, how will the
So
stack assert that the PVC has been copied to the target and then it will, wait for that to.
it's already attached to the pod, right? I mean, the target PVC is already attached to the pod, to the target pod.
So when the PVC is attached, okay, so currently there is no mechanism for moving the PVC and then copying the data over to the new PVC.
Yeah, but it's part of the pod. I mean, you don't need to worry about this.
Okay.
So, I mean, we can start with whatever we have right now, and then we'll see how to proceed. I mean, but this is a
So just to be sure, even in this case, the target pod is still generating the DOM XML, right? The only piece of coordination is to make sure that the status is reflected accurately before that process begins.
um, I mean, that's the whole point that you on the target you wouldn't need any kind of coordination. You just pick the reality of what actually has been allocated for the pod, and then use it. And
No,
here
I think,
we,
sorry, go ahead, complete your thought. My bad.
yes, and then in our case, I mean, in the array, then we'll need to update the VMI with something.
Yeah, so I think the the place where we are inserting DRA logic is the place where we are already waiting for pod to come up, right? And we are going to, so there is already logic to move that pod. When that pod goes to ready state, there is logic to move that migration from scheduling to scheduled state, and we are inserting the logic there. So I think what I'm trying to say is this will just be an additional condition check, and it is not really, um, giving that information out and syncing the state.
I'm not sure which condition, but I think that let's start with something. I mean, let's put this target, the devices that has been allocated on the target in the migration state, VMI status migration state, and then we'll see how to proceed from there.
Okay, all right. So my plan was that we will actually, since live migration for DRA for devices is not supported in KubeVirt, I'll just give a future path of how to do this and consider live migration out of scope for this design since the feature is in alpha. And then once this is available in the future, we can pick that and implement it in beta or some other part of the life cycle. Is that how we should proceed, or do you think we should consider this in scope for alpha?
No. For the implementation part, I mean, what we needed here is an explanation of how this is going to work in the design doc, and I would not consider this as part of an implementation for alpha. That's not needed at all.
Got it. Perfect. So yeah, I think we are on the same page on this. I will update the design to reflect this and can discuss on the document. Okay.
Sounds good.
So apart from there, are there any other concerns / feedback for this design to move it forward? Okay, I'm hearing silence, so I'm going to take it as no, and I'll reach out to reviewers to take a look at it and help move it forward.
Okay, sounds good. I don't know, Lou or Jed, anything?
Nope. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
sorry, I need to catch up.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm relatively new to this, guys, but I just wanted to ask a quick question. Is the YAML for the VMI going to be updated with this change?
So with
No,
the
VM status.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was asking, can you repeat the question? Sorry, you broke up for me a little bit.
Oh, I was just asking if the YAML is going to be updated with this change.
In the design document?
No, in the VMI YAML, the YAML file for the virtual machine instance.
Oh, so in this feature will, I think Vladik already answered no, but only if you want to use DRA device, there will be a additional thing in the YAML. Apart from that, there will not be any change.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, then think if we don't have any more questions, then we can end early today, and then hopefully have reviews on the design document and take this forward. All right, folks, we're going to stop sharing now.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Ali.
Yeah,
Excellent.
thanks everyone for joining. We'll see you in the unconference sessions.
Yep. Bye-bye.